I am Lana Everett, 24 years old. And the moment I hit the cold, sharp edge of the stairwell landing, I realized something far more painful than broken bones. My family would never protect me from my sister. Not even now. We were supposed to be visiting Grandma after her surgery, but Mira, my 28-year-old sister, cornered me in stairwell C, away from the nurses, the orderlies, the patients. Away from eyes. "You always make me look bad," she whispered through clenched teeth, her hands pressed to my shoulders. Perfect little Lana. Perfect little packages. Perfect little visits. "Mira, move," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "This isn't about you. It's about Grandma." "No," she hissed. "It's always about you." I saw the shove coming, but not fast enough. My feet slipped. My shoulder slammed the rail. The edge of each step cut into my spine, ribs, legs. I hit the landing with a sickening crunch. Then everything went white. "Deu!" Mira screamed, fake panic coating her voice. Lana fell. Oh my God, she just slipped. I tried to catch her. When I opened my eyes, my parents were standing over me. But not to help. Mom wrapped Mira in her arms. "You poor thing." What a terrible thing to witness. Dad knelt beside me, expression flat. "Running in stairwells at your age. What were you thinking?" I wanted to scream, but all I could whisper was, "She pushed me." Before anyone could respond, a woman in navy scrubs pushed through the door. Nurse Harper. Her badge gleamed Chief RN. Her tone was steel. "What happened here?" My mother jumped in. My daughter tripped. Her sister tried to catch her. She just couldn't. "Really?" Harper said, eyebrow raised. "Then why did security call me about a red flag in this stairwell feed?" Mira's face drained of color. That's when everyone saw it. The small black security camera in the top corner of the ceiling. Blinking red. Recording everything. "What feed?" my father asked. "Standard hospital protocol," Harper replied coolly. "For patient safety, of course." Mira's hands curled into fists. "You can't use that. This is a family matter." Harper tilted her head. "Actually, Miss Everett, what I saw on that footage is assault. And that makes it a criminal matter." My parents froze. Their illusion was cracking. They could no longer protect Mira from what came next. As I was wheeled to the ER, I overheard Harper speaking into a hospital phone. "Get me the last 3 months of footage involving the Everett sisters. All stairwells. All common areas." I felt my pulse quicken. 3 months ago, Mira had slammed me into a wall outside Grandma's room. 2 months ago, she tripped me near the front entrance. Every time, there were tears, excuses, and my parents playing peacemaker. Now there were tapes. But the biggest shock came 20 minutes later. A security guard knocked on the exam room door and handed Harper a flash drive. She slid it into a tablet and pressed play. There was Mira, an hour earlier, pacing the stairwell with her phone pressed to her ear. Her voice was clear. "She thinks Grandma's leaving the house to her. That's not happening. I've got a plan. One more scare and Lana won't dare show her face." Harper turned to the police officer now standing by my bedside. This was no accident. This was premeditated. Just as my blood work was being taken, a commotion erupted in the hallway. "Excuse me," came a familiar, firm voice. Grandma. She had left her recovery room, dragging an IV stand behind her like a battle flag. Her hospital gown hung loose over her frail frame, but her presence silenced the entire corridor. "I want to see my granddaughter." Now, when she saw me, bruised and bound in monitors, she didn't cry. She didn't gasp. She just pulled up a chair and held my hand. "I'm sorry," she said. "I should have spoken up a long time ago." Then she turned to the officer. "I want to give a statement." She told them everything: Mira's temper, the favoritism, the inheritance arguments, the moments she'd seen, too many, but hadn't dared to intervene. I installed that stairwell camera myself after Mira screamed at Lana in the hallway 2 months ago, Grandma admitted. I knew it would happen again. It wasn't just the fall that was being exposed. It was years of silence. As Mira was escorted into a separate room, another officer approached. We reviewed the footage from the family's last 4 visits. It doesn't just show the fights. It shows Lana being ignored, dismissed, left behind. I stared at the ceiling. My chest ached, not from the ribs, but from the quiet grief of being invisible for so long. Detective Carver entered with calm precision. She asked questions gently but directly. "Has your sister ever hurt you before?" I nodded slowly, not always physically, but emotionally, constantly. My parents never stopped her. Sometimes they joined her. Grandma didn't deny it. She just sighed, her eyes shining with regret. I thought I was keeping the family together by staying silent, she whispered. But all I did was feed the rot. That night, as I lay in my hospital bed, I received a message from an unknown number. A video file. It was from Jake, one of the security techs. Mira's voice played again on the screen. If Lana doesn't back off, I'll make her back off. The house is mine. Attached was a final line. This camera didn't just catch her push. It caught who your family really is. The hospital released me 3 days later. My ribs still throbbed, and my wrist was wrapped tightly in a brace. But the pain in my chest, what I'd once called shame, had been replaced by something new: clarity. A detective escorted me to my grandmother's home. My home now, as her new will stated in writing. She had updated it weeks before the incident, naming me sole beneficiary. That night, I received an email from my parents. Subject: one need to talk. They wanted a family meeting. I said yes, but only if it was recorded and held in the presence of Detective Carver and my therapist. At the meeting, my mother wore her Sunday pearls and grief like armor. My father looked like a man aged 20 years in a week. You have to understand, Mom began. Mira's always been sensitive. She's always been violent, I corrected. You just called it something prettier. Don't talk to your mother that way, Dad barked. Detective Carver raised a brow. Sir, perhaps we should take a break. No, I said. Let's keep going. This is the first time they've ever been forced to hear me. After that meeting, everything moved quickly. Mira was officially charged with felony assault and conspiracy to commit bodily harm. Thanks to the video recordings and Grandma's statement, the prosecution had a solid case. But something else surfaced, something even worse. While preparing documents for court, Grandma's lawyer discovered financial irregularities, bank transfers, missing inheritance bonds. The culprit, my mother. She had been siphoning money from Grandma's estate for years under the guise of managing it. When confronted, she broke down. I just wanted to give Mira a leg up. You had your whole life ahead of you, Lana. You were smart. Mira needed more help. You didn't give her help, I said. You gave her permission. They thought this was about one staircase. It wasn't. It was about years of betrayal layered behind family dinners and birthday candles. It was about the quiet war no one else saw. Until now. 2 weeks before Mira's trial, I received a letter in the mail. The handwriting was shaky. The return address: County Correctional Facility. I almost tossed it in the fireplace. But something stopped me. Inside was a single-page letter. I don't expect you to read this, but I need to write it. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't deny what she did. Instead, she wrote about growing up in my shadow, about always being compared, always feeling small. But then came the line that haunted me. Mom always told me it was okay if I resented you. She said it was natural. She said you could handle it. I dropped the page. My mother hadn't just allowed Mira's rage. She had fed it. The courtroom was cold, clinical, unforgiving. Mira sat at the defense table, her eyes hollow. For the first time in my life, she looked like someone not in control. I took the stand. I'm not here to destroy my sister, I said. She already destroyed enough on her own. I'm here to speak the truth that no one in my family ever dared to say. Then the prosecutor played the video. Mira's voice echoed across the chamber. One more scare. The house is mine. My parents avoided my gaze. Grandma gripped my hand tight. The verdict came swift: guilty on all counts. Mira was sentenced to 4 years with mandatory psychological treatment. And for the first time since I was a child, I slept through the night without clenching my fists. 6 months passed. My therapist said trauma rewires the brain, and healing rewires the soul. She was right. The house felt warmer now. Not because of new furniture or sunshine through the stained glass windows, but because it was finally mine. Not as a possession, but as a symbol of survival. I painted the stairwell walls. I planted herbs in the window boxes. I hosted my first dinner party with friends who asked how I felt, not how I could serve them. Grandma made her peace. She said it like a prayer. I won't be here forever, Lana. But now I know you'll never be alone again. I didn't rebuild my family. I built a new one, around truth and choice and people who saw me. The first letter arrived the week after Ivy's sentencing. It sat unopened on my nightstand for days, its envelope pristine, her name in slanted handwriting I hadn't seen in months. Just the sight of it brought the taste of blood to my mouth. the way it had pooled on the hospital tile beneath me. I didn't open it, but I didn't throw it away either. By part 11 of my healing journey, I'd learned that forgiveness wasn't an obligation. It was an option. And I wasn't ready. Grandma often watched me glance at the letters, then turn away. She never pushed. She simply said, "The past will wait for you, Elise. You decide when to answer." Then one night, a knock at the front door shattered the quiet. It was past midnight. And it wasn't a letter. It was my mother. Disheveled, breathless, eyes swollen. She stood on the porch with nothing but a coat, her purse, and a manila folder clutched in her hands. "I left him," she whispered. She stepped inside like a stranger. The mother I remembered always smelled of lavender and control. Now she smelled like exhaustion. She placed the folder on the dining table like it weighed more than stone. Inside were documents. Photocopies of Ivy's old therapy records. Reports from her school. Letters she'd written as a teenager, letters they'd never told me about. Descriptions of jealousy, resentment, mental instability. My mother had known all along. She broke down sobbing. "I didn't want to believe it," she said. "I thought if I loved her enough, if I ignored it long enough, it would go away." I stood still. "Did you know she cut my violin strings before my first recital? That she flushed Grandma's pills just to see what would happen?" She didn't answer. Because she did know. And still, she'd called me a liar every time. "I don't expect you to forgive me," my mother said, voice hollow. "But I need you to know, I see it now. Everything you were trying to say all those years." I looked down at the stack of papers. It was all there, and none of it changed the past. But it changed the weight I carried. For the first time, the shame of my family wasn't mine to hold anymore. A week after my mother's visit, my phone rang. I'd blocked Ivy's prison number months ago. But this wasn't her. It was Detective Reyes, the lead investigator from Ivy's trial. "There's been an incident," she said carefully. "Ivy's in the infirmary. She was attacked. We're still gathering details." I felt nothing, not relief, not joy. Just the eerie silence of emotional distance. "She listed you as her emergency contact." "I'm not her family," I replied. "She has no one else who would answer." I hesitated, then asked, "Is she going to be okay? Physically, yes. Emotionally, that's unclear." The detective paused before continuing. "She kept asking for you. Not to visit. Just to know if you were safe," she said, and I quote, "She doesn't have to forgive me. I just hope she's building the life I tried to take from her." That night, I stared at the unopened letters again, and for the first time I opened one. Inside wasn't an apology, it was a memory. A story from when we were kids. The summer she pushed me off the tire swing, then blamed it on the wind. How I forgave her that same day. She wrote, "That was the last time you trusted me. I've spent 2 decades trying to justify why I didn't deserve it." I cried, not for Ivy, but for the little girl version of myself, who always believed that love meant forgiveness without boundaries. Spring came late that year. But when it arrived, Grandma and I replanted every inch of the front garden. Wildflowers, climbing roses, morning glories that curled toward the sky like they knew the meaning of resilience. The house felt different now. Not haunted, not heavy, just honest. On the porch, I sat beside Sarah, the nurse who had become my anchor. Her scone crumbs scattered between us as we watched a delivery van arrive. "What's this?" she asked, sipping tea. I smiled. "A donation box. Old journals, clothes, even some furniture I don't need anymore. I'm making space. For what? For whatever's next." Grandma opened the screen door and stepped out, her cane tapping softly. "You sure you're ready to let it all go?" she asked. I looked down the street, where Ivy and I used to walk home from school, her steps always faster, louder, trying to outrun the weight of never feeling like enough. "I'm not letting go," I said. "I'm moving forward." And with that, I closed the door behind me, not in anger, not in denial, but in peace. I never wrote back to Ivy. But one day I wrote something for her. Not to be mailed, not to be read, but because I needed to say it. "Dear Ivy, you broke me. And you built parts of me too. You were my sister before you were my shadow. Before you were my storm. I don't forgive you. But I see you now. Not the version you pretended to be, but the girl who was always afraid there wouldn't be enough love to go around. You were wrong. There was always enough. You just refused to share it. This isn't revenge. This is survival, and I've survived you. Goodbye." Elise, I folded the letter. tucked it inside the drawer with the rest of the unopened ones, and locked it. Not to hide it, but to remind myself some chapters end with a period, not a reply. That night, I hosted my first dinner at the house. Grandma made her famous pot roast, Sarah brought the scones, and a few of my neighbors trickled in. Holding homemade dishes and hesitant smiles, laughter echoed in the walls that once held so much silence. When someone asked how I ended up with the house, I simply said, "It's a long story, but it has a good ending." Some wounds don't leave scars, they leave maps, guiding us toward the people we're meant to become. Elise's story wasn't just about betrayal or justice. It was about choosing peace over patterns, about stepping into the life you deserve, even if it means leaving behind the people who never protected you. Because healing doesn't require permission. It just requires courage. If this story touched you, if you've ever felt unseen, dismissed, or silenced, I want you to know you are not alone. Share your own story in the comments. Like this video if you believe in second chances, not for others, but for yourself. And subscribe to Telling Story with me for more true stories that remind us. The past may shape us, but it doesn't define us. We write our endings together.